If you've ever replayed a conversation in your head, wondering why something felt off but you couldn't quite name it, this is for you. You're not imagining things, and you're not too sensitive. Disrespect doesn't always arrive loudly. Most of the time, it slips in quietly, through tone, timing, absence, and small moments you were taught to ignore. You may have learned early on to be understanding, patient, and forgiving. Those are not flaws. They are signs of emotional intelligence. But psychology shows that when kindness is paired with silence, it can unintentionally train others to cross lines without consequence. Over time, this doesn't just affect how people treat you, it affects how you see yourself. If you've ever felt drained after being around certain people, or lonely even while surrounded by them, that isn't weakness, it's awareness trying to surface. Your nervous system recognizes patterns long before your mind puts words to them. This isn't about becoming guarded or bitter. It's about clarity, about recognizing the subtle behaviors that quietly erode your peace so you can stop internalizing what was never yours to carry. You don't need to change who you are to be respected. You only need to stop abandoning yourself to keep the connection. What you're about to hear isn't a judgment. It's a mirror and an invitation to choose yourself without guilt. Part 1. Being consistently dismissed or interrupted. Part of what makes this behavior so confusing is that it rarely looks aggressive. No one is yelling at you. No one is openly hostile. Instead, it shows up as being talked over, rushed past, or subtly ignored. You begin a sentence, and someone finishes it for you. You share a thought, and the conversation immediately pivots elsewhere. At first, you tell yourself it's nothing. You assume they're just excited, distracted, or unaware. But psychology tells a different story. When this happens repeatedly, your brain starts to register a pattern. Each interruption sends a quiet signal. Your voice is not essential here. Over time, this doesn't just affect the conversation. It reshapes your behavior. You may notice yourself speaking less, choosing words more carefully, or waiting for the right moment that never comes. This is not because you lack confidence. It's because your nervous system is adapting to avoid rejection. Being consistently dismissed trains you to self-edit before you even speak. You start prioritizing smoothness over honesty, harmony over presence. And the most damaging part is that you may begin blaming yourself for it. You wonder if you're boring, unclear, or simply not worth listening to. That internal shift is where the real harm happens. In emotionally healthy relationships, people make space. They pause. They listen. Even disagreement includes acknowledgement. Respect is not about agreeing with everything you say. It's about recognizing that you exist in the room. If someone continually interrupts or disregards you, pay attention not just to what they're doing. Part 2. Conditional respect that depends on your usefulness. Part of what makes this form of disrespect so hard to recognize is that it often looks like appreciation at first. You're valued when you're helpful, when you give advice, offer support, show up consistently, or make things easier for others. You're praised for being reliable, strong, or the one who always understands. But the moment you need something, slow down, or say no, the tone shifts. Psychologically, this creates a quiet imbalance. Your brain starts associating connection with performance. You feel accepted when you're useful, and uneasy when you're not. Over time, you may notice yourself anticipating needs before they're spoken, offering help you weren't asked for, or pushing past your own limits just to maintain peace. This isn't generosity, it's conditional respect. Teaches you that rest makes you less valuable, that boundaries make you inconvenient, and that your worth is something you have to earn repeatedly. And because you're self-aware, you may even justify it. You tell yourself you're being mature, flexible, or understanding, but inside, something tightens. You feel pressure instead of safety. Healthy relationships don't collapse when you stop giving. Real respect doesn't disappear when you become human. It stays present even when you're tired, uncertain, or unavailable. It doesn't punish you for having needs. If someone's warmth is directly tied to what you provide, that's not respect. It's dependency disguised as appreciation. And the cost of staying in that dynamic is subtle but heavy. You begin abandoning yourself to keep access. You are not here to be useful at the expense of your own well-being. You are allowed to exist without proving your value every day, but to what it's doing to you. The exhaustion, the hesitation, the quiet shrinking, Those are not personality traits. They are response. You don't need to fight for the right to be heard. And anyone who makes you feel like you do is teaching you something important about them, not you. Part 3. Subtle mockery disguised as humor. Part of what makes this behavior especially damaging is that it gives you no clear place to stand. The comment comes wrapped in a smile. It's followed by laughter. And if you react, you're told you're too serious, or that you can't take a joke, so you laugh along, even though something in you tightens. Psychologically, this kind of mockery works because it creates confusion. Your emotional brain registers discomfort, but your rational brain is pressured to dismiss it. Over time, you learn to override your instincts to avoid appearing difficult. You start minimizing your own reactions before anyone else can. These jokes often target sensitive areas: your intelligence, your emotions, your past, your boundaries. They're rarely random. They test how much diminishing you'll tolerate in the name of connection. And when you don't push back, the behavior escalates. What began as a small joke becomes a pattern of subtle disrespect. Healthy humor feels safe. It doesn't leave you questioning your worth or replaying the moment later. It doesn't require you to sacrifice self-respect to belong. Laughter should expand you, not shrink you. If you notice that someone's jokes consistently leave you feeling exposed or lesser, pay attention. That feeling is information. You don't need to explain why it hurt for it to matter. And you don't need to accept being reduced just to keep the peace. Respect never hides behind humor. Part 4. Emotional withholding as control. Part of what makes emotional withholding so destabilizing is that nothing obvious happens. There's no argument, no clear rejection, just a sudden drop in warmth. Messages become shorter, affection fades, presence turns into distance, and you're left trying to figure out what changed. Psychologically, this triggers anxiety because the human nervous system is wired to seek connection and repair. When emotional closeness is suddenly removed, your brain goes into search mode. You replay your words, you scan your behavior, you wonder what you did wrong. Even if no one says it out loud, the silence starts to feel like punishment. Over time, this teaches you to self-censor. You hesitate to bring up concerns. You soften your needs. You become more agreeable, not because you've changed your values, but because you're trying to prevent the withdrawal from happening again. This is how control operates quietly, not through force, but through absence. Emotionally healthy people don't use distance to manage discomfort. They communicate, they stay present, even when things are tense. They don't make love or attention something you have to earn back. If someone repeatedly withholds connection when you express yourself, that's not emotional maturity. It's a strategy. And the cost of staying in that dynamic is high. You begin prioritizing emotional survival over emotional truth. You deserve relationships where closeness is stable, not conditional. Part 5. Boundary testing after you've clearly spoken. Part of what makes this behavior so draining is that you already did the hard part. You spoke up. You explained what you're not okay with, calmly, respectfully, maybe even more gently than necessary. And for a moment, it seems understood. Then it happens again, not dramatically, not in a way that invites confrontation, just enough to make you question whether it's worth addressing. Psychology calls this boundary testing. It's how some people explore how serious you really are, not by listening to your words, but by watching your response when the line is crossed again. Each time you let it slide, your nervous system absorbs a message. Your comfort is negotiable. You may start feeling tense before interactions, bracing yourself without fully knowing why. That tension isn't overreaction, it's awareness. Boundaries aren't about control or punishment. They're about clarity, and clarity requires consistency. When someone respects you, they don't need repeated reminders. They adjust, they remember, they care. If you find yourself explaining the same boundary over and over, the issue isn't communication, it's consent. A boundary that isn't honored becomes an invitation for self-abandonment. You're not asking for too much by expecting your words to matter. Part 6. Minimizing your feelings and experiences. Part of what makes this kind of disrespect so destabilizing is that it doesn't attack you directly. It erases you slowly. It shows up in phrases that sound reasonable on the surface, but quietly dismantle your inner authority. You're overreacting. It wasn't that serious. You're reading too much into it. Each time you hear this, something inside you pauses. Psychologically, repeated minimization trains you to doubt your own emotional intelligence. Instead of asking, "Why did this affect me?" you start asking, "What's wrong with me for feeling this way?" Over time, this shifts your attention outward. You begin looking for permission to feel what you already feel. This is especially harmful if you're naturally introspective. You reflect deeply, try to see multiple perspectives, and value emotional nuance. When your experiences are minimized, that strength gets turned against you. You start intellectualizing pain instead of honoring it. Emotions are not inconveniences. They are signals. They tell you when something matters, when something crosses a line, when something needs care. Anyone who repeatedly dismisses your inner experience is not offering perspective. They're asking you to disconnect from yourself, to maintain comfort. You don't need to justify your feelings for them to be valid, and you don't need to shrink your inner world to make someone else feel at ease. Part 7. Inconsistent effort and one-sided access. Part of what makes this behavior so emotionally exhausting is the uncertainty it creates. Some days, the connection feels warm, engaging, and present. Other days, it's distant, delayed, or completely absent. There's no clear rhythm, no explanation, just enough closeness to keep you invested, and enough distance to keep you unsettled. Psychologically, inconsistency activates the brain's reward system in a powerful way. When attention comes and goes unpredictably, your mind works harder to regain it. You may find yourself waiting, checking, adjusting your expectations, or lowering your needs just to maintain contact. This isn't neediness. It's a natural response to unstable connection. Over time, you may notice the imbalance. They reach out when it suits them. They disappear when it doesn't. And slowly, your time, energy, and availability begin revolving around their schedule. You adapt, while they remain unchanged. Healthy relationships don't require you to chase presence. Mutual effort creates safety. Consistency allows your nervous system to rest. When access is one-sided, you're not in a reciprocal connection. You're in a state of emotional alertness. If you're always the one adjusting, waiting, or understanding, it's worth asking who the relationship is really serving. You deserve consistency, not crumbs disguised as connection. Part 8. Punishing you for having standards. Part of what makes this behavior so revealing is that it only appears when you change. The moment you begin asking for more clarity, more respect, or more consistency, the dynamic shifts. You may be met with defensiveness, guilt-tripping, withdrawal, or subtle accusations that you've become difficult or different. Psychologically, standards disrupt unspoken agreements. When you raise them, you remove access to the version of you that tolerated less. For people who benefited from your silence, this can feel like a loss of control. Rather than adjust, they attempt to restore the old dynamic by making you feel unreasonable. You may start questioning yourself. You wonder if you're asking for too much, if you've changed in a negative way, if you should go back to being more flexible. But standards aren't walls, they're clarity. They reveal who is willing to meet you with respect and who was only comfortable when you were easy to overlook. Growth often brings distance, not because you're wrong, but because alignment changes. Being labeled too much by the wrong people is often a sign that you're finally honoring yourself. You are not responsible for making others comfortable with your self-respect, and you don't need permission to outgrow what once felt familiar. Conclusion: if you've seen yourself reflected in these patterns, let this be clear. Nothing here means you failed to protect yourself. It means you are perceptive, emotionally intelligent, and capable of deep connection. People like you don't tolerate disrespect because you don't notice it. You tolerate it because you try to understand it. But understanding is not the same as acceptance. Psychology teaches us that self-respect isn't built through confrontation alone. It's built through quiet decisions, what you continue to allow, what you step back from, and what you stop explaining. The moment you stop negotiating your inner peace for external approval, the dynamic changes. Sometimes the relationship changes, sometimes it ends, and sometimes it deepens in ways you never thought possible. Loneliness, when it shows up at this stage, is not a punishment. It's a pause, a recalibration, a sign that you're no longer willing to betray yourself just to feel connected. And that kind of solitude isn't emptiness, it's integrity. You don't need to become colder, harder, or less caring. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. The right people won't require you to shrink, perform, or stay silent to be respected. As you move forward, remember this: the way others treat you teaches you about them. The way you respond teaches you about you. And choosing yourself calmly, consistently, without guilt, is not selfish. It's the foundation of every healthy connection you will ever have.